All right. So I heard we have great sound now. So what's up, Digimarconians? How you doing today? Are you ready for happy hour? I get the crew that gets back from eating the sugar and the drinks, and you're like, you've already had the high carbs, and you're like, oh my God, it's like 2 more, right? So I need you to do me a favor. If I start to nod off, I need you to all clap, just like that, okay? So if you see me like start to go like that, just help me out. No, really what I'm here for is to talk to you about conversion optimization, which is really just a cool little trendy jargon for helping you make more money, right? That's what we're all here for, to learn how to make more money. So let's get into it. That's me. I'm from Arkansas. We wear shoes in Arkansas. Actually, pretty nice shoes in Arkansas. So so ConstantlyConvert is the name of the company. How many of you have had McPizza lately?
I've never heard of it.
Am I at the wrong conference? So how many of you have ever had McPizza? Cool. Where are you from? Ohio. Who else has had McPizza? Do you not eat at McDonald's? Really? Okay. Everybody's like, why? What? Okay, so before I get started, I want to show you a quick commercial about McPizza. You got some sound for me? Pump it up.
In 1935, the record for land speed was shattered at 300 miles an hour. On water, a speedboat made the most at over 200 knots. By 1949, pilots had broken the speed of sound. And now... ma'am, here's your pizza.
Already?
Yes, already. McDonald's Pizza is freshly baked in our revolutionary ovens in under 5 minutes. Okay, maybe it doesn't break the sound barrier, but you've never had pizza so good, so fast.
Okay, so that was kind of a trick. None of you have had McPizza because in 2012, they stopped serving McPizza. You say thank God. Yeah, a lot of people said that. But actually there was a franchisee, I think in Ohio, if I'm not mistaken, and he held on to this. I mean, he was like, we sell McPizza, and we're not going to stop selling McPizza. And finally, McDonald's came down and said, dude, you're not selling McPizza anymore. This is it. We're really serious. So he quit selling it. But it's an interesting story when I talk about conversion optimization because they really tried to make pizza work. Okay, so if you think about McDonald's, back in the 80s, McDonald's owned about 40% of the burger market. I mean, they were the burger thing. You know, I started to say Burger King. They were literally the burger mega monster, whatever, of all burgers. And so they were looking for a way to get people to eat something from the restaurant for dinner because people didn't want to eat burgers for dinner. They loved them for lunch, but they didn't want to eat burgers for dinner. So it's not really that crazy of an idea. I mean, if you really think about it, Egg McMuffin. That was a crazy idea, believe it or not. In 1973, McDonald's started talking about an Egg McMuffin, and people were like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard of. You're a burger place, it'll never work. But not only did it work, but McDonald's now kills it by millions and billions for the breakfast menu, and Egg McMuffin is still what leads their breakfast menu. So McPizza basically was starting to launch in the 80s, and they were trying everything they could do. They were doing all kinds of tests to try to make this thing work. It started out kind of as a calzone type of pizza, so it could be something you grab and take with you to go. But then they decided, wait, this doesn't really work for the family, so we need to go to something different, something bigger that they can take home with them. So they created a pizza in a box. And what they learned was, based on the design of their windows, oh my God, this thing won't even, I mean, it's like, we can't get it out of the box. I mean, out of the drive-thru. We were designed for burgers, out of the drive-thru. But then someone else at McDonald's said, no big deal, we'll just change all the windows. So they changed all the windows at McDonald's and made them bigger so the box would fit out the window. And then the guy says, you know what, since we're going to change the windows and make them bigger, we want to create an experience. We want them to see us making this pizza from start to finish. So we want to move all the ingredients next to the drive-thru so that when they're placing their order and they come down, they get the experience. So what are we talking about today in 2019? What's the buzzword in marketing? Experience marketing. That was the buzzword in 1970s and 1980s as well. So McDonald's was trying to do that back then. Well, Pizza Hut back in the 80s, how many of you have ever gone in and had some Pizza Hut, right? Yeah, they said, no, it's not gonna happen. So Pizza Hut launched this massive campaign. They're like, this is never gonna happen, we cannot let this happen. So all of their advertising was, don't make the mistake. Why try McFrozen? Who else is hitting McDonald's with frozen right now? Wendy's. So still doing the same thing. Still the attack is there against McDonald's. So they were getting hit really hard, and they really were feeling it from Pizza Hut because they had made the promise that you had never had real pizza this fast. That was their whole branding campaign. So their goal was to get real amazing pizza out of the box or out of the window within 4 minutes. Problem was they couldn't make that happen in under 10 minutes. How many of you have ever sat in a drive-thru for 10 minutes? It didn't happen then, it certainly wouldn't happen now. I mean, we're like 60 seconds, let's go, you know? So 10 minutes, they couldn't get it down past that. So they're constantly trying to make this thing work. Cost of the pizza gets up to about $7.99, which is, you know, these people were paying 50 cents for burgers back then, so that was a huge shock to their customers. So nonetheless, lots of testing, lots of failures, lots of learning, but McDonald's finally said, okay, we're not going to sell pizza. So basically when you think about optimization, we've always done that, right? Now, when I talk about things that have failed, I also want to talk about things that have worked really great. A lot of you in this room, I can tell just by your age, that you remember the days when Domino's was the greasy, cheap, stuck to the cardboard pizza, right? And some of you actually missed that. But that's not what's happened with Domino's. So Domino's basically decided, we suck. We've read the reviews, we suck. And we're never going to get better until we admit that we suck and do it all over again. And so they had this amazing CEO that came in, and he was known for creating turnarounds, turning around companies. But what did he really do? He really just went through the company and optimized it from the bottom up, and he just basically rebuilt the company again. So you remember the commercials, right? And there's a few that are still out there. What was the tagline? Oh, yes, we did? Yeah. They admitted, yes, I know for the past 2 years you've had your pizza delivered stuck to the top of the box, and that's not acceptable. So we've changed that. And then they said, we know that sometimes our pizza tasted like cardboard, and so we've changed our ingredients, and that's never going to happen again. And so they took us on this journey of reinventing who Domino's is. And the reason I really love this story, and you really should Google it sometime and really dig deep into it because it's a great story. I don't know how many of you can see this, but this is about CEO Patrick Doyle's tenure at Domino's. And in 2011, or during 2011, when he took charge of Domino's turnaround, look what happened to the stock. That's phenomenal. I mean, that's amazing growth. And if you can't see the companies who are underneath that, that's Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and Google. So, has he done a good job? He's done a heck of a job, right? So, when we talk about conversion optimization and CRO and CO and UX and all of this stuff, I really want us to always remember that we've always been doing these things, okay? Conversion optimization is not brand new. I'm sorry if you're in charge of conversion optimization, but it's not brand new. CRO, basically, just so we all define that portion of this, it's basically a system for increasing the percentage of visitors to a website that convert into customers and more generally taking any desired action on a web page. Ugh. we are trying to make more money. We're trying to make the website make more money, or we're trying to make the business make more money. And that's really what optimization is. So what does it take? Well, here's what it takes for a company to do it right. And you'll think of Domino's immediately. You've got to be an agile company. You've got to be able to rip up the roadmaps. You've got to have the leadership that's in place that's going to embrace change. If someone in your organization is talking about conversion rate optimization or any of that, but they don't fit this mold, you're starting at the wrong place. Because it's not going to work. You're going to run into those people that say, no, we can't mess up that process. We've had this process in place for years. We can't change that. It's going to come up. So it's important to understand that if you're going to start down the road of optimizing your company or having someone in charge of that they understand that this is what it takes to be a great company, and you can just add your Domino's story to that, and you can sell that to the CEO, I promise. So the first thing I want to start out with is, how many of you have gone through website redesigns? You're probably going through one again. And how do we pitch them? We're going to redesign our site, and it's going to convert more of our visitors into customers. It's going to be more optimized. Okay, so what we need to start doing right now is stop thinking redesign, okay, and just start thinking of optimizing what you currently have. There's no need to kill the website. Okay, so what's the process of optimization? Okay, so it does have a process. It's discovery and goals. So you obviously need to do some discovery, set some goals. You're going to constantly evaluate and analyze. So if you're not a data person, you might want to find one in your organization that is, because you're going to need that person. You're going to form hypotheses. You're going to test those. You're going to report that information, and then you're going to do it all over again and over again, and it's never going to end. And if you're in SEO, you already understand that. It never ends. It's constantly optimizing. So what are some keys in this process? First of all, understanding that it is continuous. There's no finish line. So if you're one of those people that needs a finish line, this is not the job for you. Hacks and best practices, you'll find them all over the place. I'm going to give you some of them. Take them with a grain of salt. It's the process that's important. The tips and the tricks, yeah, take it in, but each company's different, so just be cautious of that. And test your own ideas, and test the ideas of your sales team. Test the ideas of your receptionists. Test your gut instincts. So be careful with hacks and best practices. Designate someone in the organization. Usually within an organization, you always have that person that finds everything that's wrong with your website. They're a great person for this role. Because they're constantly seeing what's wrong, and they're identifying opportunities of how to make things better. Also remembering that it is a lot about data, but there is an art and a science when it comes to optimization. They go hand in hand. So if you're going to put a team together, what does it look like? Well, it could be, in most organizations, it could be one person that wears all of these hats. Okay, so I know we have a few of those in here. But ideally, you would have a project manager, have a data analyst, you're going to have a designer, of course, for the creative. You really could benefit from someone who knows copywriting, at least a little bit. And then, of course, a developer that's going to make the changes to your site or social media or landing pages. And that person needs to have some familiarity with A/B testing. So that's what a great team looks like. Now, we all know what this funnel looks like. We've been talking about it for 15 years, at least since I've been in digital marketing, so everybody understands the funnel. But what we don't always understand is, what do our customers see in that process? So we all know what the awareness stage is, but what does it look like to them? So the reason I have looks like at the top is we really should put this on our wall in our office and go through each phase and say, okay, for the awareness phase, what does that look like to our customers or to our shoppers? You know, consideration, what does that look like? What do they see? We know what we expect, but what do they see? What do they experience? The qualification, the decision-making process. And then, of course, when they become a customer, what happens next? What do they experience once they become a customer? So it is, I said it's an art and science. It's very much data driven. And so with that, I wanted to show you some of the companies that we work with, or some of the companies that I've used that you might want to jot these down. They're great companies to work with. There's a lot of them out there. I'm not paid to endorse any of these people, of course. But our platforms work with some of these. So Kissmetrics, HubSpot, Google now has Google Optimize. Anyone familiar with that? It's great, right? Optimizely, one of my favorites, Adobe, of course. But what you're doing here is you're looking for programs and software that's going to offer you heat maps, scroll maps, ways of testing your forms, and ways of doing A/B testing kind of on the fly and as easy as possible. And some of these companies offer that. Looking at visitor recordings, have you actually watched, I know we look at bounce rates a lot, and we look at paths, but have we actually looked at what our users are doing and recorded that process of what they're doing on our sites? It's critical to the optimization process. So obviously you're going to start out the journey with a hypothesis. You're going to determine, I believe we can do this, basically because we're going to put this into place. So you always want to have a hypothesis that you can test. So which metrics do I improve first? My suggestion here is begin with the end in mind and work backwards. So let me put this into a little bit of perspective here. When you start optimizing with a company, which would you rather optimize more? Would you rather have 20% more people visiting your homepage, or would you rather have 20% more of the people that are on your checkout actually checking out, obviously? So some people start with their homepage, and that's fine. But for me, I start with the end in mind, and I start with the contact us page, or the conversion page, or the e-commerce page. Just something to kind of keep in mind. How do you prioritize this? Because you can come up with a hypothesis, or you can kind of determine what you think you want to optimize, or different ideas of what might happen. So what do you decide then, where to go? Because, you could create a long list. So it's important to have some sort of priority system in place. So basically the system that I use is sales value, effort, and time. So it's really just keeping it simple. What's going to give you the most bucks or the most profit? It's going to take you the least amount of effort, or the least amount of team effort, and the least amount of time. And if you do that and you divide all of your goals by that, you're going to find it very easy which processes you need to start with first. So some of the questions I often get, this is the one I get most often. We find ourselves getting into a psychological study of how the human mind, encounters color. So instead of asking which colors convert the best in our conversations in our meeting rooms, we need to ask questions like this: where are people getting stuck in the buying process? What are common traits among our paying customers, the current customers that we have right now? What is their age? What is their demo? Where do they come from? Which platform are they using the most? What hesitations do our leads have that prevent them from buying? Because it's not really about which color you use. A lot of times it's just changing the color to see if that makes them click the button a little bit more. Also, we tend to forget on our path to optimization that we have a direct result that's desired, but we also have a nurtured result that's also desired. So you want to have a good mix of those, but obviously the ones I'm going to go after first are going to be the purchases, the calls, the contact forms, whatever it is that's going to get us an immediate lead or an immediate sale. That's where I want to start first, but I also want to not forget, along the way of this process, am I optimizing the site so that I get more email signups? Am I getting more white paper downloads, Facebook follows? Because all of those are important as well. And the winner is, of all the types of testing that's out there, and I promise you there's like a million different ways to test the results of your visitors to your site, what have you found to be the most successful form of testing? Anyone? Someone? The winner is A/B testing. That's by far, among most in the industry, that's by far the test that they go to first and that yields the best results. And a lot of those companies that I mentioned earlier are going to enable you to set up web pages or take web pages from your site and make a slight change to those pages, maybe change the color of the checkout button, and you're going to be able to send maybe 10% of your visitors to those pages, and then everybody else goes to the original page, so you're going to have an A/B test. Anyone doing this currently? Okay, so we have several people that are doing that. So that's been the most efficient way. So what I'm talking about here is, not necessarily, so just imagine both of them, really that should be blue instead of green, but really just making a change of color. It doesn't matter if it's yellow, purple, green, whatever. Let's say that one's solid blue and this one's blue and we changed it to yellow. In that particular experiment, there was a 36% increase in conversion simply by changing the color on the page. From a creative standpoint, you can test that as well. This is a very popular one that you find online, so you can obviously see what happens when we have the baby looking at the content versus the baby looking at the viewer. So subtle changes like that can yield big results, and that's again done through A/B testing. It's very simple and easy to do. So what you'll find in this process is that when you're analyzing all of the data, you're going to find all kinds of information in the data, just like when you saw that baby or when you saw the button on there. You're going to experiment different things. You're going to try different processes, change different colors, change where the buttons show up on the page. Prioritize your hypothesis. We talked about that. Research what and why it's happening using quantitative and qualitative research. And obviously you're going to gain tremendous insights about not only how your site's performing, but how your customers are reacting with your business. Okay, so more fast tips. Number one in my book is optimize your thank you page, because a lot of times that's the one that gets forgotten. So what do we want them to do when they get a thank you from us? Nothing, just read the thank you and go. So what else can we do? Can we bring them back into the purchasing funnel? Can we get referrals? What can we do to optimize whatever thank you it is that we're sending? Hopefully we're sending thank yous, but most of us never think about optimizing the thank you page, but these people just bought from us. They know hundreds of people possibly that want to buy from us. So how can we use that thank you page or process even better? Also, when you're looking at e-commerce sites, I know that can get into a lot of debates about, well, how do you optimize? In my opinion, my research that I found, you look at A/B testing and you want to measure revenue per customer, how much that customer is spending, or if someone's purchasing more dollars from your site, obviously that's a higher value purchase. Also, interrupt them. Don't assume that they're going to follow this magic trail and they're going to figure things out for themselves. Tell them where you want them to go. So if they're on the home page, look at your home page. Does it tell them where they need to go next? If it doesn't, it needs to. The second page, does it tell them where you want them to go? In the checkout process, is it very clear where you want them to go next? There's a very popular domain purchase site out there. How many of you buy domains quite a bit? So there's one that really just bugs me, like I really want to go work for them and help them out. Because when I purchase the domain, I'm ready to be finished, I'm ready to have my domain purchased, and it says, would you like to add this? I'm like,
Go daddy.
I'm not going to say any names. But I say, no, I don't want to purchase that, but thanks for asking. Well, do you want to purchase this? No, I don't want to purchase that either, thanks for asking. Well, how about this? How about this? How about this? How about that? I'm like, oh my God, I can't even find my domain name. And so, if you've noticed recently, that's changed. So now that process has gone away, and they found a new way to make that process work. And what did they do? They heard from their customers, or they did A/B testing to find out that people were going nuts during that process. So that's very important, to interrupt their flow and tell them exactly where you want them to go. Otherwise, they're just going to wander on the page. CTA versus design. that battle, it's CTA, I promise you, over design. Declutter. One of the things that we talk about in design is, more design. And we need to talk about less design and declutter the homepage, declutter the checkout page, constantly look at ways to declutter, until you have just this clean, very easy, here's where I want you to go, here's how I want you to make this purchase, here's the way it's all going to magically happen. And if you'll notice, a lot of your other sites have started to join the declutter trend, I guess you could say. Back to the homepage, some tips for your homepage. I call it the 5-second rule because it's easy to remember because I have kids. So the 5-second rule goes like this. I go to the website, I want to know immediately, am I in the right place? Do I trust you? Do I have confidence that you're going to deliver something great? And why do I need it? Do I need it? And what do I do next? And so think about it. 5 seconds to do that is not easy to do. But if you go to most homepages right now and you test them, you'll see that most of them will have about 2 of those, and that's it. And some don't even have that. Some can't even tell you if you're in the right place. You could literally land on a website and it doesn't even tell you what the website sells. It'll give you this beautiful branding statement. And you're like, well, that's great. What do you sell? So that's just kind of a 5-second rule that I like to follow. This just, I thought I actually took this slide out. But okay, we got time, we'll talk about it. So this is not my slide, but this is a really great slide to tell us about the customer-centric, the new customer and how they think when they're on a page. So the new customer is more informed. They probably know more about your brand than most of your employees that have been there for about a year. I mean, they've researched you, they know about you, they've read your reviews, they've looked at everything. They're self-directed, so if you don't, again, going back to tell them where to go, if you don't tell them where to go, they're going to find their own paths. They're very well connected, they love to experiment, so if you've got like buttons on your site that says, hey, you want to know this, hey, you want to try this, they love that process. They're very social and very co-productive, so it's a good slide, but I took it out actually for sake of time. But definitely a good slide. So, I think I'm good on time here. So that's it. That's basically my take on some ways for you to better optimize your business and better optimize the money that you're making. And any questions? All right. Back to you, Chuck.